Okay, so in front of us here is Granny Thornapples' Book of Charms, Magic Folklore from the Ozark Mountains by Brandon Weston. And I did promise I would make a little review video, and here we are. So we have this beautiful cover, really beautiful cover. I was very pleased to offer an endorsement on this. Brandon reached out and asked me, I think as early as last year, like February of last year or something like that. But anyways, I got through it wonderfully, and I really enjoyed it. It's a sequel, or a trequel, I guess you would say. It's a follow-up to two of Brendan's other books, which are on my bookshelf, a little too far away for me to reach, but I had Brendan on a couple of months ago for my podcast, and we had a wonderful chat. And I believe at that point this was just starting to go through final round of edits. So I did an endorsement, just open it up here, and this is now available for order. It is available. You can go on to the Llewellyn website, you can go to wherever you get books, whether it be Amazon or other places, and go and receive it. So there's the beautiful piece, and that's Brandon right there. There we go, Brandon. Brandon Weston. Fayetteville, Arkansas, is a folklorist, writer, and healer whose work with clients includes everything from spiritual cleanses to house blessings. He, they, them, comes from a long line of Ozark hill folk and is a folk herbalist, herb doctor, and power doctor. For more of his information, visit ozarkhealing.com. So the book is essentially a frame tale. So what Brandon has done, which I find to be a very effective way of storytelling, is to go through and create a frame tale that information is then placed in. This is a very old form of storytelling. The Canterbury Tales, the 1001 Arabian Nights, the Panchatantra, and many other medieval literature is placed as a frame tale. And so what he has done here, and there's other books right now, Chris Alon and Madame Pamita have also come up with frame tales recently, and it's a very effective way of teaching. It's a very effective way of storytelling, because you get into the story and the information is encapsulated within. So what Brandon has done is written a frame tale of Granny Thornapple, of a couple of figures actually, and the characters go and meet with them, and then within that is nestled then the charms, the folklore, and the information. So we'll just open it up here. It already has some beautiful praise. So Keldon has praised it. We also have a praise from Dr. Alexander Cummins, very well known in the folklore and folk craft community. We also have from Chris Alon, there we go. And Chris and Keldon have both appeared on my podcast, and I'm hoping that Al will also come on at some point. So here, Jill, I don't want to break the spine, I really want to keep this pristine, but we also have something from Corey Hutchinson, who has several books out now with Llewellyn. He's a major folklorist down in the States there on North American and general folk magic. And then, of course, here's mine. So, a rare volume, not merely a collection of tales or raw folkloric data, but a whole landscape populated by characters you will come to love by the end. Weston's teachers, neighbors, and friends all find their voice in this deeply personal work, their stories supporting the magical practices outlined. So often in magical books, we get the practices divorced from culture, but in this book, we have all of it right in front of us. Weston gives us rituals, charms, prayers, and all manner of magical practice, and supports almost every single one with a story. This book will appeal not only to those interested in the Ozarks, but to all who want to connect to their own landscape as deeply as Weston has with theirs. And of course, that's by some arsehole named Ben Stimson. We also have Deborah L. Burris, PhD, who is a professor and author of Weather Magic. So, the book itself, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like I said, they did a really nice job on the cover here. But let's just do a flick through here. This is the... here we go. So here's the contents. You have the charming tradition, you have blessings, you have information about undoing hexing and undoing hexes, love spells. You've got magical protections and home protections. You have there's all sorts of dream information, and some psychopomp stuff in here. So as I said, the basic framework is a story, and so you can read this from start to finish as a story. The story illustrates all of the information that is found within, and then of course you can flick through and go back to the information. Let me just see here. There is notes at the background, so you can take notes if you'd like. And when I read this was still in manuscript form. To actually have this in like a physical form, it's really nice. I really enjoyed Brandon's other works, particularly because I didn't know anything about the Ozarks. I knew it was there. Obviously it was on the map. I had no understanding of the culture of it. But he really did a good job introducing us to that landscape in his first two books, and in their third book, I should say, we're really going deeper and having a real conversation with Brandon about this book, both privately and on my podcast too. This seems like this is a distillation of the third. This is really underlying all of the information that was in the first two, but really bringing it home, opening up the door so that you can go and sit in with some of these characters and really apply it to life. And it's wonderful. I highly recommend it. There are a couple of pieces, just to keep it balanced, there are a couple of pieces that I didn't like about the book. If you are looking for a textbook-like book, this is not it. So this is not set up like a textbook. Now, Brandon is a academically trained folklorist. He does definitely come from that background, and there is a lot of citations. But that being said, it isn't written like an academic text. This is written more like a story. So this is a story that you enter. It isn't one that you can just casually open up and just like pick out without having read the story first. So this is a book that you need to read first, and then you'll have the context. They wrote it in such a way that in order to really access the understanding of the information, you need to have the story backing first. Once you have the story, then it will be easier to go back through again. So I would say read this like a novel first. Don't necessarily stop at all of the magical pieces, the magical components, but go back to it afterwards. So once you've got the full story through, and once you've gone through with all of the characters. I wouldn't say that's necessarily something I didn't like. I would say that that is... I like that kind of style, but I've also been very much like involved in my writing ever since... for the past 2 years because of university. So I'm very like to the point. I need the information. I need to pinpoint it. So to actually sit and have a leisurely pace of moving through a story is a little foreign to me now, but it is something that overall I do really enjoy, and I do find is, at least for me, the information sticks. Something I also didn't like is that because it's a story, the information is organized in that way, right? So, and again, maybe it's not something I didn't necessarily like. It was more of I'm at the mercy then of how the writer has written it. So in order to, in following the story, the information, what Brandon has essentially done has created a method of Loki. Right, so how I remember some of this information from when I read the manuscript is I think about the story, I navigate through the story, and I get to the information. That's a little different for me than if I were to be working with information from my own landscapes that I've been to or that I connect with. When I think of like Welsh folklore, for example, or British folklore, I think of place, and then the information comes out. And then the story comes out, as opposed to this, which is, I would say, my impression of this is, especially for people who've never been to the Ozarks before, the story becomes the landscape that the information is in kind of placed into. So if you are looking for a not even an academic grimoire, but if you're looking more from like a Book of Spells grimoire perspective, where things are organized based on type, this has this to a degree, but the story, I would say, predominates it. So I would say, walking into reading this book, really approach it from a place of story first. Have a map too. I would say that that's really, really powerful. That's a really powerful way, is to have a map with you of the region. And I don't know if, yeah, Brandon doesn't have it in here. So I would say, like, open up map, so that when you're encountering places in here, look at them on the map so that you get a sense of where they are. Because at that point, then you've got kind of the trifecta of associative information there. You've got place, you've got name, and you've got story. Wonderful book. I really, really highly recommend it. I really loved it. A lot of these charms can be applied anywhere, so they're not just based on the Ozarks, although the story and the characters are Ozarkers. It can really be applied to anywhere. A lot of these charms originate in Europe, and so Europeans will find that many of these things make sense, especially for the ingredients are indigenous to Europe as well as North America. Some of the other things, like sassafras, for example, you won't necessarily find in Europe, and so it may not be as applicable, but the underlying understanding will be there. So really highly recommend it. It is available now through Llewellyn and anywhere you can buy books. Highly recommend it. Go and buy it, first of all, but also leave a review. Leave a review on Amazon, on Goodreads, on those types of sites, because that really helps the authors, and I know Brandon will really appreciate that. You can find all of the information again at ozarkhealing.com. You can find out more about this author named Brandon Weston here. I don't know why I said it like that. I know Brandon, we've chatted quite a few times. Very good people, and they come from a really, really cool background. So, anyways, yes. Granny Thornapples, Book of Charms. Thank you so much for joining me on that review video of Brandon Weston's Granny Thornapples Book of Charms, Magic and Folklore from the Ozark Mountains. If you enjoyed this review, please do give a like and a subscribe. That really helps my channel. And if you enjoyed Brandon's book, please do go and give a review, because that's just a really nice thing to do, and lets authors know that what we're doing in the world actually matters. Thank you for joining me, and I've been Ben Stimson. We'll see you at the next review.